Hello everyone, Alex here again, and welcome back to our horror story series. Today we're going to take a look at 5 true and scary urban exploration stories. Now, before we begin, I want to let you all know I had a few complaints about the last video about the sound quality of my voice, being that it was not loud enough for you all to hear properly. So I've addressed this issue and it should be fixed now in this video. But other than that, let's get into 5 true and scary urban exploration stories. Number 1. As for me, the creepiest thing that has happened was the third time I went out urban exploring in all my life. I was very young, in my early teens, and I went with some older friends, mid to late teens, who have done it before. A friend's sister, whom I call Cindy, drove us deep into the woods to this big abandoned house in the evening. The house was big and still in good shape, but definitely abandoned. The windows were mostly smashed, but the ones on the top floor weren't and still had curtains. Everything in the house was thrown around and broken. My friends decided it was a good idea to play a joke on me, so we split up around the house. They exited the house and drove off, leaving me alone in the middle of the woods I've never been in before. Being young, I did not know what to do with the old house creaking as I took every step. I was terrified. I ran out of the house in full panic mode. I hear some rustling in the bushes and my mind is racing. Is it a bunny or someone else? Young and dumb me goes back into the house to hide under the table. The house is still creaking and I'm not even moving, so I assume there's someone inside. I decide to stay hidden in a great hiding spot under the table. I didn't know what else to do. Well, about half an hour passes and my friends are back. I run out of the house and I'm so happy to see them all, but so angry at them. I yell at Cindy, but she says we should go right now. I asked her why, but she doesn't respond, so we head back, and after we're out of the woods, she says she saw someone move the curtains on the top floor and look out the window. So that's my creepy story and one of the scariest moments of my life. I haven't found anything creepier yet. Number 2. Me and my friends once wanted to get into an abandoned building on the outskirts of the city. It was a big building, but I have no idea what it was. Anyways, after jumping some fences and walls, we were in the complex, but all the doors to the building were either locked or barricaded. But we've found an entrance in the form of a window vent to the basement. It was about 1.5 meter vertical jump, then a small window and another 1 meter to the floor, so we had to squeeze one by one, and I was the third to last. To do so, after I somehow bent myself to get through that, I found myself in a completely dark basement. Our entrance being the only source of light, but really not much light. A minute later, after we got our phone flashlights up, and my friend shooed us to be quiet and pointed at the window, or rather at a shadow. There was someone out there. We decided to stay quiet because we didn't want to get in trouble, as we thought it was a guard, and shortly after the shadow went away. We walked around the dark maze for a while, but it was really just locked doors and locked metal doors. Then we heard a very loud crash upstairs immediately after we heard one of the doors unlocking and opening. Then footsteps echoing in the basement. No calling out, no light, just footsteps. We evaded them in silence and found the open door. Went through it and ended up going upstairs. We looked around for an exit, but all the doors and windows were still barricaded. We checked everywhere and everything was either boarded up, locked with chains, or bricked. And so our only option to leave was to go back to the now silent again basement and end up going through that vent window thing again in all haste and complete silence. Number 3. I found a group of strangers living in complete darkness. This was in the San Bernardino area in Southern California. I was inspecting the bridges that run over the canals for lead and asbestos. Most bridges that run over the canals have a small space on either side of the water to walk, usually small enough that you have to bend over. One bridge appeared to have a small crawl space under it, but once I got inside it and opened up into a huge, dark, low-ceiling room that extended back below the highway. I entered alone, ahead of my supervisor carrying my tools, flashlight. As I passed the flashlight over the darkness, about 20 people stared back at me from the back of that room, all standing. I must have ducked out of there immediately, but I clearly remember seeing a nice rug, multiple large couches, a TV, a table with a vase with flowers in it, beds, paintings on the wall, a nice floor lamp, but none of it was powered, and just 20 people living there in the dark. Number 4. The stairs that disappeared into water. There used to be an old abandoned school in a town by my house. It was heavily boarded up and super hard to get into. Well, a friend and I managed to get inside by climbing up the side of the school via a pipe and fire escape combo and slipping through a window on the roof. We explored the basement, which was flooded. It was kind of creepy seeing stairs that disappeared into water. We had just left the gym when we heard footsteps coming from the doors on the other side of the gym. Scary, especially considering it sounded like it was one person, not another group of explorers like us. And blocking our exit back up to the roof, the only way out otherwise was behind us through barred up doors. They sounded like someone who was walking around and stopping periodically. There was no light coming from that direction, and we couldn't fathom why someone would come into a creepy place like this alone. We waited for the footsteps to stop, then snuck across the gym, peered down the hallways and saw no one, and continued towards the stairs which would lead us back to the roof. Halfway down the hall, we hear someone sprinting behind us, probably only 50 meters away or so down a typical high school hallway. Now, it is mostly dark in here, but there was a small amount of light coming in through the cracks of the windowed boards. Still, we didn't see anything behind us as we quickly ran up the steps. We didn't stop until we got back to the 4th floor. We listened for noises, nothing, hopped out the window and climbed down the pipe. Number 5. We stumble across a dead creature. My buddy and me spent many years crawling through sewer pipes, and one day we were out in the woods. Me, him, and another friend. We were deep in the woods and we found some pipe sticking out of the hillside and agreed to explore it. We crawled down this thing for a good 600 feet or so on our hands and knees, and at times it gets smaller and we are on our stomachs. Finally, it comes to one of those big manhole rooms, and we get the impression we're under a house. Of course, we also know that in some places manholes will exist in the middle of nowhere for future developments. Anyways, the room has 3 other super small pipes heading out into different directions, like slither on your stomach size. We choose one and make our friend Z go first. We go down it about 300 feet and he shouts back that there's something in the way. He thinks it's a dead animal, but since we are using weak headlamps he can't tell. We coerce him to climb over it, then comes me. He's freaking out saying the shit is all over his clothes and he didn't know what it was. I climb over this dark lump of refuse. Feels like a body but not human, not even animal, just alien. It smells bad, it smells horrible. I slid over this nasty shit almost puking. My buddy behind me comes next, same story. We keep going, asking ourselves why we even do this shit in the first place. Exploration etc. into the unknown, the forbidden. We crawl another few hundred feet, Z starts complaining about a horrible, god-awful stench ahead. We can't for the life of him get him to continue. He ends up throwing up. We start throwing the idea around of gas or some sort. He says with his headlamp there's something big up ahead. Looks like an honest-to-God body, human maybe. We slid backwards quickly until we got to the manhole room, where we crawl out quickly. We get into the daylight and investigate the shit stuck to our clothes from the thing we slid over. It's dark, bloody dark, fused dark. Looks like fur. We agree that it was probably a trapped animal, and we are never going to go back again. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed, why not drop a like and subscribe? I'll be putting out more content here shortly, so until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Enjoy the scares.